All right. Thank you guys for joining. Apologies for the wait. I was having a little bit of connectivity issue, but a couple minutes late. We'll just keep you around for a couple minutes longer. But thank you guys for hopping into class. Let's get started with our agenda. As always, we're going to start off with our vocab practice. Then we'll shift gears, do a little bit of novel study. We'll check out some literary analysis questions based on our novel. And then we're going to go on to our lesson plan, our writing plan of problem and solution writing. We've been doing that for a little while now, so we're just trying to perfect that writing style. We're trying to make sure that we fully understand how to write detailed, clearly organized writing pieces and making sure that we write them quickly. We don't need to take 20 minutes to write these. We're trying to work on submitting these a little bit faster, okay? So first things first, vocab practice. Let's have Amy. Can you read this slide for us, please?
Incite, definition, provoke or stir up, urge on, cause to act. Example, usually he ends up by discussing something far afield, an act which incites skepticism and suspicion in those anxious for a straight-out explanation. Measure, definition, deficient in amount or quality or extent, small and often applies to portions. Example, I tore the food into even before I hugged them. I tore into the food even before I hugged them, but forced myself to stop so that we could all share the meager morsels.
All right, nicely done. So incite and meager. Incite is a verb. This is the act of starting something, essentially. So if you are trying to provoke someone, trying to get someone to do something, trying to urge someone to do something, you are inciting whatever action that is. So to incite means to provoke, to stir up, to urge, basically just to be the cause of some sort of action. So in this example here, usually he ends up by discussing something far afield, an act which incites skepticism. So whatever this action is, it is starting, it is provoking, it is urging the feeling of skepticism. Meager, that's our adjective. This usually is applied to food, or in general, just a quantity. So if you're talking about a physical quantity of something, you're talking about a small amount of whatever that thing is. So a small portion, a small amount, something that is not enough, essentially. So here I tore into the food even before I hugged them, but forced myself to stop so that we could all share the meager morsel. Meager morsels meaning small amount of food. Morsels is just another way of saying food. So here we are using incite and meager for our short story or paragraph. This time it's not really a creative writing exercise. This is more of a opinion piece. So the question is, how does fear influence decision making in both individuals and societies? Provide historical, literary, or personal examples. So this prompt right here, you don't have to be creative with it, but try to still be very detailed. Try to provide a very thoughtful answer. And of course, using both vocab words. I'll put them on the screen here. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. All right, so I got one answer here so far. It has been a little over our time limit, so I'm going to take this up. 20 other answers, please submit them as well, and I'll take those up as well. All right, let's start here. Nathan, can you read your answer, please?
Fear influences decision making in both individuals and societies. For example, there was a moment that occurred to me. One time I had a fear of heights when I was young, and my school took us to a field trip to one of those rock walls. I climbed 30 feet up, and it looked like I was in good shape. However, when I looked down, I almost fainted. When I reached the top, the trainer told me to get down. However, my ropes were tangled, and I couldn't figure out how to get myself out. After 20 minutes of dangling in the air, firefighters helped me get down and the trip was called off. Another example was when I was in a robotics competition. My fear, my team has a fear of losing, and it was affecting me a ton. Because I was the one that represented this team. Not only did we lose, but we had such a low score. We had such a low score that at the end of the match, even the judges shook in disbelief. Overall, fear influences decision making in both individuals and societies.
All right, excellent answer right here. So very detailed, and you provided a few examples, and you really backed it up well. So very well done. Let's proofread this real quick. So fear influences decision making in both individuals and societies. For example, there was a moment that occurred to me once. One time I had a fear of heights when I was young, and okay, so here I don't think we need this comma right here. And like the word and is already connecting our clauses together, so the comma is kind of redundant. So I had a fear of heights when I was young, and my school took a field trip to one of those rock walls. So we don't really have to say one of those. We can just say took a field trip to a rock wall. Sounds like a rock climbing wall. So took a field trip to a rock climbing wall. Oops, this one and this. And we can cross this out. All right, so I climbed 30 feet up, and it looked like I was in good shape. Same thing here. We don't really need this comma. However, when I looked down, I almost fainted. When I reached the top, the trainer told me to get down. However, my ropes are tangled, and I couldn't figure out how to get myself out. After 20 minutes of dangling in the air, firefighters helped me get down, and the trip was called off. Another example was when I was in a robotics competition. My team has a fear of losing. So because we have all of our verbs in the past tense, this one's got to be past tense as well. All right, my team had a fear of losing, and it was affecting me a ton. So we don't need these commas here because we have a comma that's right before the word and, which is redundant. Then we have another comma right before the word because. And typically with the word because, there's not really a pause there, so we don't really need that comma. So my team had a fear of losing, and it was affecting me a ton because I was the one that represented the team. Not only did we lose, but we had such a low score. We had such a low score that at the end of the match, even the judges shook in disbelief. Overall, fear influences decision-making in both individuals and societies. So overall, excellent paragraph, but we are missing our two vocab words. So incite and meager, that was the task. Just like how it is for every time we do vocab, got to make sure we use both of our words. So yeah, and also this is supposed to be a lowercase. Yeah, that's about it. Please try to make sure the words are in there. No problem, Nathan. Let's move on. We got another answer here. All right, George, can you read your answer, please?
The major evidence of real danger often fails to stop fear from inciting irrational decisions, as seen on the red scale when paranoia led to unjust accusation. Similarly, in Lord of the Flies, the wise ninja understanding of the beast is its fear-driven truth, causing them to abandon reason and turn to violence.
All right. So, solid answer right here. Could be a little longer. It's a very brief answer, but let's check this out. So the meager evidence of real danger often fails to stop fear from inciting irrational decisions, as seen during the Red Scare when paranoia led to unjust accusations. Similarly, in Lord of the Flies, the boys' meager understanding of the beast incites fear-driven chaos, causing them to abandon reason and turn to violence. All right, George. Very interesting answer right here. What is Red Scare?
Red Scare is a time period when the Russia happened, like they kill all the people, don't really believe nationalism like that.
Yeah, all right. So it's like a war-related governmental type of meaning behind this. So not a bad example to use, but we are lacking a ton of information here. Like it would help for just any reader to know a little background information about the Red Scare. Also, it would make your answer a lot stronger if you back up, your answer by discussing why fear is involved with the Red Scare and why there's a certain level of fear and relating it to, I think you're talking about evidence and danger related back to that. Because to be honest, I personally don't really know too much about this topic, so I'm a little lost as well, but try to include that information in there. The meager evidence of real danger often fails to stop fear from inciting irrational decisions. All right, so George, can you explain what does this phrase right here mean? Well, I'll highlight it for you. It's a little hard to read.
That means the real truth not really can affect the irritation decision.
Sorry, can you say that again? The real truth can't do something?
Can stop or affect the irritational decision.
Irrational decisions. So you're mispronouncing irrational. Do you know what irrational means?
Irrational means not follow the you are thinking not follow the truth.
Okay, so not quite not following the truth. It's more so you're not really using reason. You're not using logical reason. You're kind of just making things illogical and rushed and potentially dangerous. So that's what irrational would mean in this situation here. Yeah, so I can ask you again about the Lord of the Flies as well, but I don't want to take up too much time here. Overall, George, try to add more detail to your answer. But yeah, let's move on. We got another submission here. All right, Amy, can you read your answer, please?
Fear influences decision making in both individuals and societies. For example, a person wanted to do something, but because of fear, they didn't do that thing. When your brain senses fear, it's hard to think clearly or make reasonable decisions. When you fear something, it may cause you to have stress and change your decisions. People always want to make more good decisions than bad decisions. The situation may affect other people in the society, making more people become stressful.
All right, excellent. Very well done. So let's proofread this answer here. Fear influences should be plural. Decision making in both individuals and societies. For example, a person wanted to do something, but so we can change the phrasing here. We can say a person could want to do something. But because of fear, they didn't do that thing. When your brain senses fear, it's hard to think clearly. Or make reasonable decisions. When you fear something, it may cause you to have stress and change your decisions. People always want to make more good decisions than bad decisions. This situation may affect other people in the society, making more people become stressful. All right. People always want to make more good decisions than bad decisions. This may affect other people. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so similarly as one of our previous answers, we are missing our vocab words here. So the task was to not only write about this topic, which you did, but to also make sure you include the vocab words of incite and meager. So try to, pay attention to that part as well. It's not really like our creative writing exercises where it's pretty simple to include some of our vocab words, but I wanted to make this a little challenging for you guys. So we'll try to do this again next week. Try to get the vocab words included. Let's shift gears. Let's go over to our novel discussion. For this week, we are going to check out The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Let's have someone read this slide. Melinda, can you read this slide for us, please?
A novel discussion titled The Time Summary follows a Victorian scientist who invented a time-traveling machine, leading him to a distant future where humanity has evolved into two distinct species, the gentle but helpless Eloi and the monstrous subterranean Morlocks. Themes: time travel, human progress, class division, technology and its consequences.
Excellent. Very well done. So here we have a brief little summary about our novel here. Just to give you guys a little bit of background or like a sense of setting, we're dealing with our main character being from the Victorian time period. So this is like, back in the day, they have the fancy suits and all that, lack of technology. They invent a time machine, they go back in time, and, not back in time, they're going to a distant future, and they're dealing with some conflicts in the future. So let's check out a deeper summary about this. Nathan, can you read this summary, please?
The novel begins with an unnamed narrator recounting a dinner party, where the time traveler introduces his time machine. After testing the machine, he is transported to the year 802,701, where he finds the Eloi, a peaceful but weak race living above ground. Though he initially believes they are the pinnacle of human evolution, he discovers that they fear the Morlocks, who live underground and controls the world machinery. The time traveler learns that the Morlocks, once the working class, has evolved into monstrous creatures that prey on the Eloi. After his time machine is stolen by the Morlocks, he struggles to retrieve it. He eventually escapes, journeys further into the future, and witnesses Earth's slow death before returning to its own time, where he recounts his story and sets off on another trip, never to be seen again.
All right, nicely done. So, pretty much an example of, I guess we can say, conflict within social classes. So that's what we're dealing here. So we have our time traveler going into the distant future, or actually very distant future, the year 802-701. So he finds different types of classes. He discovers that there is a Eloi class and a Morlock class. The Morlock is the one that lives underground and controls the world's machinery. They are the working class, and they prey on the Eloys. So yeah, a lot of this just has to do with class division, conflict within these classes, and yeah. So let's check out a passage from this novel, as well as a little bit of context about what's going on in this passage. After analyzing this, we're gonna do a few questions to break this down. So let's have someone read this slide. Amy, can you read this slide for us, please?
Context. This passage occurs after the time traveler has spent some time in the distant future, observing the Eloi and beginning to understand the fate of humanity. He reflects on his own insignificance in the vast timeline of the universe, questioning whether the Eloi truly represent progress or decline. Looking at these stars suddenly dwarfed my own troubles and all the gravities of terrestrial life. I thought of the vast process of the drift of the solar system through space and the tiny ephemeral lives of men. I felt that I had something to tell those men of the future, but what? If they were indeed the apex of civilization, I was merely a chasm, a relic of the past that they had long outgrown. Yet I doubted the perfection of their world, for I had seen the shadows under the bright sunlight. And as I stood there watching the constellations that were already drifting into unfamiliar forms, I felt for the first time the true loneliness of the traveler in time.
All right. Very well done. So using this passage, we're going to answer a few questions. So here are the multiple choice questions I will take on. The first one says, what realization does the time traveler come to in this passage? What realization does the time traveler come to in this passage? What do we think? All right, we got one answer here. Let's see if there's any more. All right, so looks like we're both on the same page. Everyone's saying option C, humanity's future may not be as advanced as it initially seemed. Sounds good to me. This is the absolute correct answer. Let's move on. Next question. What does the passage suggest about the time traveler's feelings towards the future? All right. Yeah, we got another answer. Perfect. Let's see if we get some more. All right, well, let's just go with this answer. Okay, we got two answers. Perfect. So both answers are in agreement. We're both saying C. Very well done. C is correct. He is troubled by what he has seen and questions whether humanity has truly advanced. All right, so next question is a long answer question. It says, how does the time traveler's observation of the stars contribute to the novel's theme of time and human insignificance? So I will give you guys this question in the chat. And I'll put the information back on the screen. If anyone wants to change the slide or has any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, try to submit your answer within the next 5 to 7 minutes. And your answer should be around 4 to 5 sentences as well. So you can continue writing. All right, so we got an answer here so far. So it has been around 10 minutes or so I'm going to take this one up. And if any other answers come in, please submit. All right. Amy, can you read your answer for us, please?
The time traveler's observation of stars contributed to the novel themes of time and human insignificance. The time traveler thought of the vast process of the changing of the solar system and felt that the ephemeral lives of humans was just as a star in the whole universe. The time traveler watched the constellations shift into unfamiliar forms and knew the time passing process, even with the time traveling machine, cannot be truly retrieved.
All right. Nicely done. So very well said. Let's double check this. So the time traveler's observation of stars contributed to the novel theme of time and human insignificance. So the time traveler thought of the vast process of the changing of the solar system and felt that the ephemeral lives. Okay, so Amy, can you define what does this word mean, ephemeral?
Ephemeral means like it's very small and insignificant.
Okay, well done. Small, insignificant, something that's very short-lived. So yeah, lives of humans was just as a star in a whole universe. So I think we can change how we are phrasing this. I understand what we're saying, but let's say the time traveler thought of the vast process of the changing of the solar system, and we can say and related the ephemeral lives of humans to the stars in a whole universe, to an individual star in the whole universe. The time traveler watched okay, so since we're capitalizing time traveler here, we gotta capitalize it here as well. And we gotta make sure that we are spelling it the same time every time with 2 L's. Whoops. All right. The time traveler watched the constellations shift into unfamiliar forms and knew that the time passing process even with the time traveling machine cannot be truly retrieved. And knew the time passing process. Okay, I see what we're saying here. Cannot be retrieved. Okay, yeah, makes sense. So the time, whatever time is passing, that can't be retrieved. Yeah, very solid answer. Very well done. Good amount of information. I can't really say that you're lacking anything. So yeah, very well done. Let's check out the other answer as well. Whoops. All right. Nathan, can you read your answer, please?
There are many ways how the time traveler's observation of the stars contributed to the novel's themes of time and human insignificance. For instance, the time traveler's observation of the stars made him think about his troubles. They were dwarfed, which meant it made him feel like it was small after what happened to life hundreds of thousands of years later of the present day. This could relate to the novel's themes of time and human significance in many ways. One is that your troubles are too small in comparison to the world. If you worry about that, you are like nobody compared to the universe, and nobody is going to care. And then spend your time on something you like and something that has purpose. Another thing is that all the work you have done, everybody would have noticed. For example, life was very different after the time traveled hundreds of thousands of years of time. Also, all of humans' work wasn't noticeable, proving the theme of humans insignificant.
All right. Very detailed answer. Seems to be on the same page for the most part. So let's proofread this. So there are many ways how the time traveler's observation of these stars contribute to the novel's themes of time and human significance. For instance, the time traveler's observation of the stars made him think about his trouble. They were dwarfed, which meant it made him feel, so this it should just be a lowercase, which meant it made him feel like it was small. So we don't really need this section right here because we're kind of just defining what dwarfed means, but I mean, we already know what it means. It's a little redundant. So we can say they were dwarfed in comparison to, and then we'll continue here. So let's cut this one out. They were dwarfed in comparison to, and we'll take out this comma as well. What happened, so we'll take this up as well. In comparison to what happened to life hundreds of thousands of years later of the present day, we can say later in the future. Or we can say hundreds of thousands of years in the future. So I'll cross this stuff out. This could relate to the novel's themes of time and human insignificance in many ways. So this sentence right here is not really that important. It's kind of just like a fluff sentence, especially since we have basically the exact same sentence as our topic sentence. So we can take it out. It doesn't really add too much. So let's see, where are we at? Hundreds of thousands of years in the future. One is that your troubles. So we can say it explains how you're troubled. It explains how, let's cross this one out. It explains how your troubles are too small in comparison to the world. If you worry about that, you are like nobody compared to the universe, and nobody's going to care. In the end, spend your time on something you like and something that has purpose. Another thing is that all the work you have done, everyone wouldn't know. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. For example, life was very different after the time traveler traveled hundreds of thousands of years. We don't need this right here. Also, all of humans' work wasn't noticeable, proving the theme of human insignificance. All right, nicely done. So overall, the amount of information you're providing is solid, but you can cut down on a lot of the fluff sentences, the sentences that don't really add too much to your answer, but you know, they sound good, but they're extra. So you can take those out. For the rest of your answer, it's pretty solid. Yeah, if you can spend a little bit more time talking about all of the work, like the human, you know, accomplishments or whatever that you're talking about, how it's kind of just gone completely to waste later in the future. You can spend a little bit more time on that to really break that down, talk about what it looks like in the future, what was it intended to look like in the past, you know, something like that. But overall, very solid answer, extremely detailed, so well done there. Yeah, no problem. I see your response. Totally understand. Let's move on. Let's check out our problem and solution writing. I think you guys worked on an exercise last week, so I'm going to skip the exercise. Let's check out another exercise. This one we're going to be working on writing a problem paragraph. We're trying to get a good hang of perfecting this writing style, so please try your best to write a very strong, very detailed, and very well organized answer here. So you're only writing a problem paragraph, so no solution, just problem. And you're going to describe the following problem. Public transportation systems in major cities are often overcrowded and inefficient. How can governments improve them? So pretty straightforward. Try to organize your answer by listing out the problem, the causes, what happens because of it, who's affected, blah, blah, blah. Any relevant information, feel free to include it. Your answer should be around I want to say 5 to 6 sentences. If you want to go longer, 7, no problem. But let's aim for around 5 sentences. I'll give you guys around 5 to 7 minutes to complete this. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, so we've got one answer here so far. I think it's been roughly 5 or so minutes, 5 to 7 minutes. So enough time has passed. I'll take up this answer. If any more answers come in, please submit. All right, Nathan, can you read your answer for us, please?
A huge thing that humans have to go through is public transportation. However, there are some problems to it. One of them is that the systems in major cities are often overcrowded and inefficient. This causes many things. For example, there are many people that take public transportation to work. In addition, if they are often overcrowded, that means that many people are often being late to work or other large events they have to go to. This is a huge effect in time and is crucial to most of the people.
All right, so nicely done. We provide a good point in there about like some realistic applications of this, like people being late for work or events. Let's check this out. So a huge thing that humans have to go through is public transportation. So instead of saying have to go through, let's say have to rely on. The huge thing that humans have to rely on is public transportation. However, there are some problems to that. One of them is that the systems in major cities are often overcrowded and inefficient. This causes many things. So this short sentence right here, it doesn't really add much. Again, it's like one of those fluff sentences. But you can add this to another sentence. You can lengthen a sentence using this. This can be like a sentence starter. So we can say something like, this causes, we can just say this causes many things, such as many people, actually, you can just take this out entirely because the next sentence jumps right into an example and it flows fairly nicely, so we don't really need this sentence here. For example, there are many people that take public transportation to work. In addition, if they are often overcrowded, that means that many people are often being late to work or other large events that they have to go to. This is a huge effect in time and is crucial. I think this has a huge effect. And it is crucial to most of the people. So we don't really add too much information here. Let me go back a slide. So the problem that we already know is that public transportation in major cities are often overcrowded and inefficient. So the information that you provided was that people take public transportation to work. Aside from that, we don't really have too much new information. We're not really expanding on the problem. We're not talking about what causes it. We're not talking about what happens because of it. There's not too much other relevant information here. It's just one point that we're making. So try your best next time to really add on to this point. Add on in terms of having a wider range of information. A lot of your points right here are a little repetitive, a little fluff, and they're points that come from this sentence right here. So it's not really new information. So try to be a little bit more aware of that for next time. I am going to move on to the next answer here. All right, Amy, can you read your answer, please?
Public transportation systems in major cities are often overcrowded and inefficient. Why would they be overcrowded? Because of the rush hours. Sometimes inefficient public transportation systems can lead to wasting of resources and time, since some transportation systems are constructed in places where the population is large. For example, where I live, the third subway line and the first subway line are so crowded that sometimes you can't even get on. However, other lines, for example, 15th subway line, is often so empty that you can even lie on the seats.
All right, so good job of including a bit of like a personal anecdote here. Very interesting. It's a good point to make here. It adds some good detail. So let's proofread this. So public transportation systems in major cities are often overcrowded and inefficient. Why would they be overcrowded? Because of the rush hours. Sometimes, let's take out this space right here. Sometimes inefficient public transportation systems can lead to a wasting of resources and time. So I think in this case here, it's better to say waste. Can lead to, a waste. We can either say a waste of, or we can say can lead to the wasting of. In this case, I'll change it to a waste. The waste of resources and time, since most transportation systems are constructed in places where the population is large. So this is a good point to make when the populations are large. Very true point. But it's not too relevant to the initial point. The initial part of the sentence is how it's an inefficient use of resources and time. We can find a better use of this explanation because this one's a really strong point to make. For example, where I live, the third subway line and the first subway line are so crowded that sometimes you can't even get on. However, other lines, for example, the 15th subway line, I think we can take this comma out and actually move it over here. Is often so empty that you could even lie on the seat. Nicely done. Very well said. So overall, good use of your explanations and good job of really having a wider range of information. You can expand a little bit more on these points, especially the points about population being large. How does it affect the citizens? What importance is there to the population being large? You can say that you have to serve that many people. You have to have enough facilities to take care of all those people. But yeah, good start though. Excellent sentence. Not sentence. Excellent solution nonetheless. Problem nonetheless. Before we move on to this question here, I think it's actually best if we write a solution paragraph to this problem. So to the problem that you just wrote about, this time write a strong solution paragraph to that problem. Provide any relevant information that you'd like, anything that seems fitting. We do have roughly a little over 10 minutes because I started late today. So try your best to submit this within the next 5 to 7 minutes so we have time to take it up. So again, we're writing a solution paragraph to the same problem. All right, so let's take up these answers. Let me make a new page. So like I said earlier, we are gonna end class a little later than the normal time just because it started a bit later. But I'm still gonna take up the answers that I see here. If any other answers come in, please submit them as well. All right, Nathan, can you read your answer, please?
Despite this, there are many solutions to this. One is that the governments can build more places for public transportation, and that way it is more efficient and there would be less people at each spot. This solves the key problem of time, and people can arrive anywhere at any time efficiently in major cities. Another thing is that the government can add more public transportation outside of major cities. And that way people don't have to travel very far to large cities just for some transportation, and instead leave from places that are closer to where they are.
All right, so excellent points made here and very realistic as well, especially that last point about expanding to, outside nearby cities. So let's proofread this real quick. So despite this, there are many solutions to this. So just because we're saying this a couple times and we don't really know what we're referring to, let's pretend like this is a new reader that's checking this out. Let's include a little bit of specific detail. So despite this, there are many solutions to this problem. One is that the governments can build more places for public transportation. Can build more places for public transportation. Let's be a little more specific again. Let's say build more facilities to handle public transportation. So this could be like bus stations, subway stations, whatever it may entail. And that way, it is more efficient. It is more efficient. So let's say it offers more efficiency. More efficient travel. Let's say that. It offers more efficient travel and there would be less people at each spot. This solves the key problem of time, and people can arrive anywhere at any time efficiently in major cities. Yeah, sounds good to me. This also, like this specific solution you're providing, also deals with reducing the overcrowdedness. So we can mention that as well. Another thing is that the government can add more public transportation outside of major cities. In that way, people don't have to travel very far to large cities just for some transportation, and instead, can leave from places that are closer to where they are. Yeah, solid answer. Closer to where they are. I don't think we are allowed to end sentences with a preposition like this, so we can say closer to where they are situated. All right, overall, solid answer right here. You provided some realistic solutions. Let's check out the other answer as well. All right, Amy, can you read your answer, please?
How can we improve this problem? First of all, the government can build more public vehicles where the populations are large. Returning to the example before, places where there are a lot of people need a railway station with changing lines. Places where live small amounts of people could have railway stations with no changing lines. This method could enhance efficiency and reduce wasting of resources.
All right. Well done, and good job of relating it back to your problem paragraph about resources. So how can we improve this problem? First of all, the government can build more public vehicles where the populations are large. Returning to the example before, places where there are a lot of people need a railway station with changing lines. Places where smaller amounts of people. So let's say places that inhabit. Smaller amounts of people could have railway stations with no changing lines. This method could enhance efficiency and reduce wasting of resources. All right, so very well done. Very specific solution that you offered right here. It's a realistic option as well. It's something that does happen in places with a lot of, a big population. I would like to add that maybe you can add some more detail here. You can provide information about why this would be effective, who would be benefiting from this, as well as like what is the impact of it? What happens because of it? So would it result in reducing the crowd? Would it result in transportation being faster, like there being more trains going in and out? All that kind of stuff. So that would be, solid information here. It's a good start, what you have so far, but there are some other points that we can include. So that is it for today's class. We are just about done. That's the last exercise. The next exercise is writing a full problem and solution writing piece. We'll do that for next week. We're trying to really perfect this writing style before we move on to our next activity. But great stuff today, you guys. We will continue next week. Take care.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.